Welcome. We often talk about huge societal problems, but what if we could actually break a cycle that traps millions of people and costs us billions? Today, we're going to dig into a really groundbreaking new blueprint that's trying to do exactly that for recidivism. It's a shift from just managing the problem to actually solving it.
So let's just start with one number. It's pretty staggering. 83%. Within 9 years of being released from prison, 83% of people are arrested again. I mean, just let that sink in. That's more than 4 out of every 5 people. So the huge question has to be, why? Why is that number so devastatingly high?
And here's the thing. It's not about a lack of will or a lack of potential from the people coming home. It's a failure of the system itself. This quote just hits the nail on the head. The cycle continues because the system was not designed to hold people after release. It has these predictable and honestly preventable leaks.
Okay, so let's talk about that idea of leaks. We're going to dive into what's often called the revolving door of recidivism. Because if we really want to shut that door for good, we first have to understand why it keeps spinning in the first place.
You can see a really clear pattern in the data here. A huge chunk of rearrests, we're talking 68%, happen within the first 3 years. But look, the risk doesn't just go away after that. It keeps climbing, all the way up to that 83% mark by year 9. What this tells us is that, yeah, the first few years are absolutely critical, but the support can't just stop there. It has to be a long-term thing. So we see the numbers, but what's really going on behind them? To actually fix this thing, we've got to look at the fundamental cracks in the system. Why is it that traditional reentry programs just fail so often?
This image really illustrates the problem perfectly. It's not just one thing, it's this vicious cycle. You can see how all these barriers, housing, jobs, transportation, support, they all feed into each other. It creates this trap that is just incredibly difficult for anyone to escape on their own.
And we're not talking about small inconveniences here. These are the absolute basics for survival. I mean, just imagine trying to build a stable life when you don't have a safe place to live, you can't get an ID to even apply for a job, and you have zero emotional support to handle all that stress. It's like the system sets people up to fall through these predictable cracks from the moment they step outside. But what if we could patch those cracks? Or better yet, what if we could rebuild the entire foundation? Well, that's where this new blueprint comes in. Let's take a look at the model being pioneered by Julia Pauls and her organization, the End Recidivism Project. It's a radically different way of thinking. So, at the very heart of this new blueprint is a research-backed, trauma-informed approach. And what that really means is acknowledging that healing is the key to stability. It's not just about supervision and rules anymore. It's about addressing the deep emotional wounds and identity issues that so often are the root cause of reoffending. And this is the part I find really fascinating. This approach goes way beyond just talk therapy. It's about giving people actual, tangible tools that empower them to find mental wholeness, to, as the project puts it so beautifully, adjust their crowns with a sense of dignity and self-worth. You can see the huge shift right here. Traditional supervision, it's all about compliance, just follow the rules. But trauma-informed support, that's about healing, that's about stability. It's the difference between just trying to contain a problem and actually solving it by building a strong foundation or scaffolding for long-term success. And the process itself is so practical. It all starts with creating a safe community. They have these groups like the Storm Squad that offer non-clinical support. For a lot of people, this is the first safe voice they hear after being released. It's where that real human connection finally begins. Then that community support gets backed up by these incredible, unique tools. For example, a trauma-sensitive affirmation coloring book. And I know a coloring book might sound simple, but this is actually a really sophisticated social-emotional learning tool. It's designed to help reduce anxiety, improve focus, and give people a personal, customizable way to practice self-regulation. It's a real tool, not just a talk session. So, okay, this approach sounds way more humane and probably more effective. But is it affordable? Well, let's look at the money side of things, because the key takeaway here is that this isn't just a compassionate model, it's an economically brilliant one. The goals here are super clear, and they're measurable. When you invest in this kind of reentry, you directly lower the number of people cycling in and out of incarceration, which slashes the massive costs to our justice system. And at the exact same time, you boost employment and family stability. That strengthens the entire community. It's a win-win.
I mean, the contrast here is just night and day. It can cost up to $115,000 to incarcerate one person for 1 year. But a trauma-informed reentry model, it actually saves millions of dollars by preventing the crises that lead people back to jail and court in the first place. So we have a choice. Do we want to invest in failure, or do we want to invest in success? And in fact, the research makes it plain as day. For every single dollar that's invested in this type of supportive reentry program, society gets a return on investment of about $3.30 in avoided future costs. The math proves the mission. It just makes sense. So, the takeaway from all of this is pretty clear. If we really, truly want to end this devastating cycle, the answer isn't tougher sentences. The answer is rebuilding the entire architecture of our reentry system, building stronger, more supportive scaffolding so that people stop falling through the cracks. Look, the leaks in the system have been found. A blueprint for a better way has been drawn up, and it's been proven to be effective. The community is already doing the work. So the only question left is the one we all have to answer. When are we going to make the decision to build a system that finally works for everyone?